Welcome back to Tutorial Tuesday. I am Erin, your Teen Services Librarian for the Worcester Public Library. This Tutorial Tuesday, I'm doing something really fun, which is learning how to draw. I am a self-taught artist, as well as the friend that I brought in to kind of show us what she does. And so this is sort of for people who are either beginning artists or self-start artists who really just want to learn how to hone those skills. So what Erika's going to be doing is drawing, and then you can kind of follow along as she's sketching using reference of your own, which she'll explain what that is. And then the next week, we're going to have her back to do more in-depth work on faces, kind of how to set up a face, how to draw an expression, things like that. I wanted to point out that we have a great selection of ebooks on the subject of drawing and how to draw in the Worcester Public Library catalog. That you can actually check out. So I'm going to link to a few of my favorite recommendations, and you can check that out if you want to start figuring out, your own style and start working on learning how to draw anatomy and things like that. So without further ado, I'm going to hand this over to Erika, who is going to show you some tips and tricks for how to learn to hone your artistic skill, even if you don't think that you have any artistic skill. As she says in the video, if you think you're bad at it, you just got to practice it. So I'm going to turn this over to Erika. Bye. Okay, so welcome to our next Tutorial Tuesday. As I mentioned in our intro, I have my friend Erika, who is an absolutely amazing artist. She's going to kind of teach us some basic drawing, like figure drawing tips and tricks, and then later on we will eventually come back around and try doing some anime drawing, because that is something that she is awesome at. So Erika is going to have her screen on a screen share so you can see what she's drawing, and then if you want to kind of practice, you can draw along with her. I'll be drawing along on my iPad, so you can kind of see what I come up with at the end. But so Erika, do you want to kind of do a little introduction of who you are and kind of what you're doing?
Yeah, of course. Hi, I'm Erika. I am going to be showing you how to draw just like a basic figure pose, giving you basically what works for me, and just a few tips that helped me get to where I'm at this point.
Cool.
I'm just gonna show you just like how I basically draw a figure for a piece that I work on. Just showing you just like the basic structures that I start off with and things that worked for me as I was learning along the way as well. I like to, when I'm sketching, I like to do it in a color that's not black. When I'm using a program, and even when I'm doing it traditionally, I have like color pencil sketch like that I use for sketching that are erasable. It just makes trying to, like, when you go into the line art stage, it makes it easier to like differentiate which lines you actually do want to keep versus lines that you want to like get rid of. So I'm just going to start off with just a basic pose. Usually when I'm drawing poses, I always like to have a reference. So I have a reference next to me that I'm looking at that I can kind of, look off of. Whenever you're like new with a pose, I highly recommend you look at a reference. There is nothing wrong with references and having them next to you while you're drawing. It helps you, like, it just really helps you to like get a good look at the anatomical figure of the human body. All right. So the thing I always start off with is I just draw a circle. I just start with the head. When I'm drawing a person, I always like to start off with just just basic shapes. I'll start off with the circle for the head, and then I'll go directly into like just lines to get the figure down. And it also lets me figure out like how it helps me to figure out the composition of the piece. When I do this, I'm starting out and I can see that this is just too big. So I'm gonna fix that by scaling this down. Reference pillow. I can see in my reference I have my hips way too far up, and this is why it's good to have references, because it gives you something to look back on when you're trying to figure out human anatomy and figures. In this reference that I'm using, her hands are kind of hidden, and I don't like that, so I'm going to change that. I feel like when you're starting to draw out, people can be really afraid of hands. His hands are really hard. But hands are also my favorite thing to draw. I love drawing hands.
And why is that?
Because it's such a intricate, it takes... I like hands because they're hard, but also they can be full of details that can also explain more about the character. And I feel like any detail that can tell you more about the character's personality shouldn't be hidden.
I like that.
I always do things from sort of like a character designs perspective, just because I really like designing characters.
Mm-hmm.
And when I'm designing characters, my main goal is to have pieces of them that like you can take apart, still look at it and go, that's that character. So I like designing characters with the goal in mind of like, if you look at that character's hand only, you can tell that I'm drawing this character in my series.
Okay.
And I want every piece like that to be like that when I'm making a character design. So a very important thing with character design is the silhouette of your character. So when you end up blocking out the whole character and it's just black, you should be able to see a very defined figure and be able to tell your character, just the difference between your characters based off of that. Right now, this is when you're doing the sketching process, though, like nothing's gonna show that yet. So I start off with drawing just like basic lines like this for the character. Again, I want to show hands, so I'm gonna have her do something else. So once I figure out like the basic like structure of the character, and I'm like, yeah, okay, I like this pose, I like where it's going. You can see I've already kind of like went into it. I start like outlining the body, like the figure of the character.
Mm-hmm.
I'll go into like, this is her waist, so that's gonna be there. These are her bottom proportion. where her legs and knees are going to meet up. And I start sort of fleshing out the character a bit. And my number one rule is you're drawing a whole figure. Draw the whole body out first. Never draw the head and get like I know when people are drawing characters, their favorite thing in the world is the face. And people love like going into the details, like they draw out the face and then they draw out the neck and the shoulders, but then they're like immediately go into like eyes, nose, mouth, hair, all those like really fun stuff when you're drawing characters. And then they forget to draw the rest of the body, and then they draw the rest of the body afterwards. Always start off with drawing the whole figure first. It helps immensely to get the proportions down. Because I find when like, even I do this still, because I love drawing the face, but when I do that, I spend all of that time and effort and energy in making the face look perfect that I just lose all interest in the body, and then the body looks all wonked out.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a tip from me that works from that, like, even I still struggle with, and I think like is something that people should give a try when they're drawing their own characters and figures. Draw the whole body out before you get into the fun stuff. Get that figure out. All right. So this is my body. It's really messy. Can't really see what's what. Lines everywhere. But once I get down to that point is when I'll finally go into start like fleshing out the face. Oh, wrong color. So I'm in her face. I've made these meet up with her cheek. It's getting kind of hard to see there, huh? All right, so let's go like this. So once you get your lines down, then you can start filling in your eyes, your nose, and the expression of your character's mouth. Get the eyebrows in, and then when I'm done with the sketch portion like that, I'll go into making another line work layer, or if you're doing it traditionally, you can just like take like an eraser and gently erase your sketch lines. So you can move on to really defining your sketch. And take a darker color, a smaller brush, and and I'm going to go into figuring out which lines I basically want to keep and which ones I'm like, I want to get rid of. They're just not necessary to the picture anymore. This is when you can kind of bring out features that maybe you didn't put in yet. Like the character I'm drawing is kind of more round faced. She's got chubbier cheeks. More narrow eyes. So once I get like the sketch done, I'll go into drawing the clothes. As you can see, I have a reference for the clothing in my in front of me, or like at least pieces of the clothing, and I kind of drew a more form-fitting outfit on her, just because that's sort of like her character's style. But you kind of want to look at how the clothes in like your reference, how they sort of like drape over the body, how they like, even like if it is form-fitting, like how they cling to the body, and where like there would still be like wrinkles and stuff. I like to add in like where the seams might be, just give the clothes a little like more definition as well. Once you do that, like you're good to do like the line work for it. So after this, I would go into like an actual pen, and I'll actually like the actual pen tool, and I'll very cleanly draw the lines for the character. And just go around the character, drawing each line, clean it up a bit, and then move on to coloring.
Well, I appreciate you so much for kind of showing us your process and how you draw.
Yeah. Do what works for you, man.
Yeah, basically.
My way is not the only way. So you can also find me on my Instagram. It's Chibichu Art with underscores between Chibichu and art. I am also on Twitch. That one's just at ChibiXChu.
Okay.
On Twitch, I just stream basically what you just saw here. Like, I just stream my art. I just do it out for you. Listen to some music in the background. It's pretty jamming.
Well, then we're pretty much set. I'm probably going to have Erika come back next week to kind of teach us a little bit more of the process. But I really appreciate it so much for you coming on and helping me.